Salute to everybody that's here. Judge who sentenced Todd Chrisley remanded over loud courtroom sex. Y'all, this middle-aged judge was in her chambers getting knocked down by a police chief. Let me see if I can get a picture of him up here. They have absolutely no shame. This woman is married, by the way. And I'm going to talk about all of the women who are celebrating this. That is her. That is Judge Eleanor Ross. And that is the Deputy Chief Kelly Collier, who might be married himself. This is absolutely insane. And there are women celebrating this. There are women out here who are, they're celebrating as if it's a good thing that this woman is cheating on her husband. You see how cheating is one-sided? You see, if a man cheats, he's the worst thing ever. If a woman cheats, it's because that man did something to force her. It's always the men who have to be held accountable for the cheating. Women can skate, and that's what happened with this judge. A lot of women are celebrating her as if, you know, they think that this is funny, that a sitting judge is having loud relations in her chambers. But let it be a male judge, these women would want him destroyed. They'd want him fired, right? They'll talk about how, oh, his wife needs to leave him. But with this woman here, they're celebrating. They think it's funny. See, when women cheat, it's funny. But when a man cheats, he's the worst thing ever, right? A federal judge who presided over one of reality television's most high-profile criminal cases is facing intense scrutiny after a judicial investigators concluded that she engaged in a years-long affair with a senior Atlanta police official, including encounters inside her courtroom chambers during work hours. Now, this is during work hours. I guess this is how your wife can keep from being found out to be cheating, right? If she does this during work hours, the husband's not going to think, oh, she's not having relations with nobody during her work hours in her chambers. But you'll be surprised. I think this goes on at a lot of different places. But she got caught because the heifer was in there having loud whatever going on in them chambers. U.S. District Judge Eleanor L. Ross of the Northern District of Georgia was privately reprimanded after a special judicial conduct committee investigated allegations involving her relationship with Atlanta Police Department Deputy Chief Kelly Collier. The findings, which were recently made public, have sparked criticism, judicial accountability, and a renewed attention to Ross' handling of high-profile cases, including the prosecution of Todd and Julie Chrisley. According to the committee's findings, Ross carried on an extramarital relationship with Collier from approximately October 2023 to October 2025.
Gotta pay you for your great and
she has no respect for the position that she's in. What's good, XL Pro? Salute to everybody that's here. Investigators determined that some of the encounters occurred inside Ross courthouse chambers during business hours, often during lunch breaks. Law clerks reported hearing kissing sounds, moaning, and other intimate activity through the office door, while others observed Collier entering Ross chambers on multiple occasions. The committee concluded that Ross exercised a gross lack of judgment, and created an uncontrollable workplace environment for court staff. The findings also raised concerns about the potential conflicts of interest because Collier served in a senior law enforcement role with Ross presiding over criminal cases in federal court. The investigation found that Ross initially denied the relationship, so she lied. When questioned by investigators, the report also noted that she accused a whistleblower law clerk of misconduct before later acknowledging key facts uncovered during the inquiry. So this heifer was lying and pointing fingers. Investigators further examined Ross's attendance at a bipartisan political event, another issue that raised ethical concerns under judicial conduct rules. Bloomberg, which first publicly identified Ross and Collier, reported that investigators believed the secret relationship could have made the judge vulnerable to extortion because of the potential consequences if it became public. The revelations have prompted questions about how federal judges are disciplined and whether existing safeguards are sufficient when conduct occurs within the judiciary itself. These are two people in positions that I think they lack judgment. I mean, if somebody's young, you can say, okay, they're naive, right? You know, the people say young people are naive, right? But what about these two middle-aged motherfuckers, right? You got two middle-aged motherfuckers who are sitting up here going into her chambers and having loud relations where everybody can hear them. Maybe she don't think people can hear her, but they can. And nobody wants to hear that every day. Nobody want to hear you when they bumping and grinding in your office every day. She probably was doing this every day. They got sick and tired of hearing that. So yeah, they were going to say something. And you're a married woman. I thought that matters, right? But you have a lot of these heifers celebrating as if she won something. But y'all expect me to be outraged when a man cheats? Like y'all are? These women are cheating just as much. Despite the findings, Ross has not been removed from office. Federal judges receive lifetime appointments under the Constitution, and removal typically requires impeachment by Congress. That's crazy. So she knows she can get away with it because she's a federal judge. That's why she's doing this, because she's like, well, they can't fire me. That's their logic. That's their logic. That's why she had no problem doing this. Instead, the Judicial Council issued Ross a private reprimand, required her to write apology letters to affected law clerks, and barred her from certain leadership opportunities, including serving as a chief judge. The relatively light punishment has generated criticism from legal observers who argued that the disciplinary measure do not reflect the seriousness of the conduct described in the investigation. Ross was appointed to the federal bench in 2014 by former President Barack Obama after serving as a prosecutor in Georgia. Okay, so that just goes over certain things.
Federal judge and a high-ranking Atlanta police official are at the center of explosive allegations.
It involves sexual encounters inside the judge's chambers during work hours. Tonight, Channel 2 investigative reporter Ashley Lincoln breaks down the judicial order. And Ashley, federal judges discovered this activity went on for years.
Yeah, according to this 20-page order from the chief judge over the 11th district. Now, the report does not name the judge, but for the last 2 days, I've been speaking with sources and going through public records to identify the accused after federal employees complained about hearing intimate noises through the walls.
These are serious allegations.
They're allegations of sexual encounters during work hours that a federal judge admitted to, according to this newly released judicial order. The report details an investigation launched after a complaint was filed against a federal judge last September.
I don't think judges are perfect. They're human beings too.
Former federal prosecutor Doug Gilfillan says federal laws allow judges' identities to remain undisclosed in reports like these to protect the integrity of investigations.
However, the law requires an order like this one to be made public if there's an imposition of discipline.
The report claims the judge had sex on at least 5 occasions over a 2-year period inside her chambers with a high-ranking police officer.
At least, she should have had none. But she thinks she could do whatever she wants to because she really can't be removed, right? So she just feels like she could just do whatever. Yeah, banging in the chambers. Banging in the chambers. And listen, law enforcement should be held to a higher standard. if celebrities are held to a higher standard, law enforcement need to be held to a higher standard. Not because they make a whole bunch of more money. It's because you are a public official and it's your job to judge people. You judge people. You send people to jail. So you should be held to a higher standard. Why are we not supposed to hold these public officials to a higher standard? Everybody else has to be held to a higher standard. Why not them?
Employees interviewed during the investigation described multiple incidents where they allegedly heard people having sex through the walls. One court clerk testified to hearing what was described
unsettling
as
noises,
kissing, and music coming from the judge's chambers.
Why should the everyday person care about these allegations?
The American legal system depends on honesty and truthfulness.
This investigative report did not identify the judge or the officer, but multiple sources confirmed to Channel 2 that federal judge Eleanor Ross and Atlanta Police Deputy Chief Kelly Collier were the two accused. In the complaint, the judge's employee said she attended a primary election victory party for a district attorney on May 21st, 2024. A source provided Channel 2 this photo showing Ross at that party. The order also says the judge presided over a hearing the following day. Channel 2 obtained federal court records showing Ross presided over a supervised release hearing on May 22nd, 2024. And regarding the officer, the chief judge wrote the officer has worked for the PD since 1998, later adding that the officer has held this role since 2025. Atlanta police records show Collier joined the department in 1998, and his LinkedIn profile reflected a promotion in 2025. That LinkedIn page has since been taken down. I reached out to Ross.
Well, that's not suspicious. LinkedIn will get you every single time.
But a representative responded with no comment. The chief judge has already issued Ross a private reprimand, and she agreed to write apology letters to her employees. She was also reprimanded for attending a political event, as federal judges are prohibited from participating in political.
Again, this shows her judgment. This shows that she does not respect. She does not respect what her job is. She feels like she could just do whatever she wants. This is why these public officials need to be held accountable. I don't know why they don't think they should be held accountable, but they absolutely should. Absolutely.
Activities. The chief judge said harsher discipline was not imposed because of the judge's exemplary service to the court, along with the fact the judge ended the relationship and accepted responsibility.
In some ways, this is a self-inflicted wound, and it just shows further distrust in the system by the public, and that's just not something that we need right now.
In Atlanta,
well, I think that ship has sailed because, we've seen stories of judges, police officers who think that they're above the law. And this is an instance of it, right? This woman sends people to prison. She judges people's lives. She judges people's behaviors. But nobody can judge hers and her judgment.
Police provided a statement this afternoon saying it launched an investigation to determine if the person mentioned in the federal report is an Atlanta police officer. Now, we've attempted to reach out to Collier and have not heard back. Reporting live in the news from Ashley Lincoln, Chino.
Yeah, well, of course they're not. Of course the police gonna drag their feet. They're dragging their feet because they know who he is. All those officers know what's going on. But they don't want to, like always, they don't want to hold these officers accountable, and that's why people don't trust them. That's why people don't trust the police. People think no snitching is about protecting drug dealers and gang, but no, it's because they don't trust you. So why should they tell you anything?